When the war first erupted, it felt like a completely different world. Russia advanced at lightning speed, capturing ground in mere days, but that early momentum has vanished. Now, Russian losses are staggering. Over 11,000 tanks and armored vehicles have been obliterated, and every fresh push to breach Ukrainian defenses ends the same way: failure and fire. A brutal example unfolded on August 18, 2025, deep within the Donetsk region. Russian field commanders ordered 5 armored vehicles, including 2 APCs and 3 tanks, to spearhead a breakthrough against a Ukrainian defensive line they believed was thinly held. But the defenders were not caught off guard. Ukrainian drone teams already hovered in position above the battlefield, while a Javelin missile crew waited silently, ready to strike. The first Javelin shot blazed through the air, only to miss. Follow-up launches met the same fate. Yet, instead of retreating, the Russian column pressed onward, rumbling toward a deep trench carved by Ukrainian engineers. Then, the trap was sprung. Drones swooped in and unleashed hell. Explosives rained down from above, shattering vehicles and forcing Russian troops to abandon their machines and scatter in panic. One tank attempted to escape down a side route, but the drones pursued relentlessly, hunting it down until a direct hit turned it into a ball of fire. With the convoy immobilized, Ukrainian operators began a precision bombardment, one strike after another, perfectly timed. The vehicles, packed with ammunition, detonated like massive bombs, sending shock waves across the field. Russian soldiers taking cover nearby were soon flushed out. Explosives fell in a relentless rhythm. One soldier, caught mid-escape, was engulfed in flames as he ran. The drones methodically hit trenches, tree lines, and every shadow where troops tried to hide. No cover lasted long. Each explosion tore through another group until none remained. When the battlefield finally fell silent, over 21 Russian soldiers lay dead, and every single vehicle in the armored column had been reduced to twisted, burning wreckage, scattered pieces of metal left across the scorched ground. Less than a day later, still reeling from that disastrous engagement, Russian units made yet another attempt, this time pushing 4 additional tanks in the Kupiansk direction. This reckless decision came even though 5 armored vehicles had already been annihilated earlier in the same sector. The lead tank crawled forward until it triggered a hidden mine, erupting in a violent blast that hurled debris, fire, and thick black smoke high into the sky. The tank immediately behind it drove straight into a cluster munition, which detonated beneath it and stopped it dead in its tracks. Of the 2 vehicles that remained, one hit another concealed explosive, vaporizing the crew inside. The final tank tried to take a new path, circling the minefield, only to share the same fate when another mine tore it apart, leaving nothing but charred metal and fire. Ukrainian forces did not stop there. After obliterating the armored column, they followed up with cluster munitions, ensuring that no surviving Russian crew could regroup or attempt field repairs. When the smoke cleared, all 4 vehicles lay twisted and burning. Another assault reduced to ash before it ever touched the Ukrainian defensive line. Despite such catastrophic losses, Russian commanders refused to retreat. Instead, they regrouped and ordered yet another offensive, assembling 5 fresh armored vehicles, a T-90 tank at the front, followed by 2 APCs, what looked like a T-82 tank, and another APC bringing up the rear. The convoy rolled across open terrain, engines roaring under the morning haze, until disaster struck once again. The APC directly behind the T-90 was suddenly engulfed by a precision Ukrainian drone strike, ripping through its armor and sending debris flying. The column immediately ground to a halt. Attempts to reverse out of the kill zone only made matters worse. Another drone dove in and struck, igniting panic among the crews. Russian soldiers began abandoning their vehicles, scattering across the open ground as drones circled above like silent predators. Every second that passed sealed their fate. More drones descended, dropping explosives with surgical accuracy. Those few who managed to re-enter nearby vehicles tried to retreat, but they did so without full crews, leaving behind a disorganized mass of infantry stranded under constant aerial observation. The final phase came quickly. Ukrainian troops launched Javelin missiles and additional explosives, targeting the remaining armor. Any Russian soldier who tried to crawl beneath a wrecked vehicle for cover was quickly found and eliminated. By the end, about 11 surviving troops from the convoy had fled into abandoned houses nearby, hoping to escape the relentless eyes in the sky. But Ukrainian reconnaissance drones had already marked them. Within minutes, explosives rained down on the buildings, reducing both the soldiers and the ruins around them to rubble. This was not an isolated event. It was part of a repeating pattern, a cycle of failed assaults that had become a grim routine across the front. In just this one sector, over 20 Russian armored vehicles, from tanks and BMPs to APCs, had been destroyed, and more than 30 soldiers killed in a single concentrated effort to break Ukraine's fortified line. Yet that line stood unbroken, a wall of steel, discipline, and tactical brilliance. The deeper truth was becoming impossible to ignore. Across the entire front, Russia's losses had surpassed 11,000 tanks, while Ukrainian tank losses remained below 1,000. The contrast spoke for itself. Russia had entered the war boasting one of the largest armored forces in the world. But now, its once proud spearheads were being chewed apart faster than factories could replace them. When those material losses were added to the 30,000, 40,000 soldiers killed in just the past few months, the scale of collapse came sharply into focus. The early illusion of unstoppable momentum had shattered. At the start of the war, Russian forces had advanced rapidly, capturing towns and forcing Ukraine to fall back. The impression was that Ukraine's defenses would crumble in weeks, but by mid-2025, the tide had completely turned. Ukrainian troops not only held their ground, but systematically bled Russian assaults dry, repelling wave after wave and slowly reclaiming lost territory. Every new attack Russia launched was a repeat of the same fatal mistake. Small armored units charging into fortified kill zones, only to be annihilated by minefields, artillery, anti-tank weapons, and the new terror of the battlefield, drones. These combined defenses didn't just stop Russian vehicles. They shattered morale. Crews who once rode proudly in tanks now entered the fight knowing that every movement could be their last. The battlefield itself had become a maze of fire and fear. One major reason for Ukraine's shifting advantage was how rapidly it integrated Western weapon systems into combat. Bradley IFVs, Abrams, Leopard 2 tanks, and Javelin missiles began shaping the fight, often outperforming Russian armor in both range and precision. Yet, beyond these steel behemoths, it was the drones that changed everything. In just a few months, they transformed the entire nature of warfare. What once required heavy artillery or battalions of men could now be achieved by a few operators controlling small, silent machines from miles away. Reconnaissance drones hovered constantly over contested zones, feeding real-time coordinates to Ukrainian artillery. Each correction made their fire more accurate, more devastating. Attack drones followed close behind, striking tanks, infantry, and vehicles with pinpoint precision that no human gunner could match. Cheap, fast to produce, and nearly unstoppable, these drones crushed entire assaults, that once would have demanded massive firepower. No Russian vehicle, no soldier could move without being seen and destroyed from above. When paired with modern armor, anti-tank systems, and layered defenses, Ukrainian troops gained a decisive tactical edge. Drones guided artillery, javelins hunted stragglers, and minefields funneled every advance into kill zones. Russian offensives didn't just fail, they disintegrated. Tanks were torn open and left smoking across fields. Infantry fled, only to be cut down in the open. Ukrainian lines held strong, fortified by discipline and precision. Only 3 months ago, Russia launched a new armored offensive, sending over a dozen vehicles to overwhelm Ukrainian defenses at once. Commanders hoped numbers would succeed where tactics had failed. But the lead APC triggered a mine, a blast that warned the rest. Yet they kept moving. Ukrainian drones locked in, striking from the rear, turning steel to fire. One explosion led to another. Tanks burned, turrets flew, and black smoke rolled across the sky. Then a truck loaded with ammunition was hit, and the resulting detonation lit up the horizon. A fireball so massive it was visible miles away. None of the vehicles survived. The SUV caught fire, the MT-LB followed, and another tank was struck until it was nothing but molten wreckage. Russian crews abandoned their machines, sprinting into the fields, thinking they could escape. But Ukrainian drone operators were already watching. From above, every movement was tracked. The drones closed in, one target at a time. Some soldiers hid behind burning hulls. Others ran for trees or houses. None escaped. Each drone dropped its payload with calm precision until silence fell again. The retreat turned into annihilation. No vehicle recovered. No soldier survived. A Russian ammunition truck moved through Ukrainian-held territory as if untouched by danger, its drivers unaware that Ukrainian drones had already locked onto it. Within seconds, a strike hit dead center, obliterating the vehicle in a burst of flame and debris. The message was unmistakable. Ukraine now ruled the skies. Across the front, Russian tanks were being destroyed at a shocking pace. In a single day, more than 20 tanks and armored vehicles were wiped out. For the past several months, every new assault had ended the same way. Heavy losses, burning metal, and shattered morale. Each failed push revealed how deeply fortified and adaptive Ukraine's defenses had become. The combination of tactics, technology, and timing turned every attack into another disaster for Russian troops. Their formations relied on old doctrines, linear armored thrusts, predictable advances, and underestimated defenses, while Ukraine mastered a modern method of layered warfare. Ukrainian forces blended Bradley IFVs, Abrams, and Leopard 2 tanks with Javelin missiles, smart artillery, and precision drone coordination. Every component of this system worked in harmony. Drones spotted, artillery corrected, and missiles finished the job. By the time Russian armor reached visual range, it was already burning. Their crews, however, displayed discipline under chaos. Ukrainian soldiers reacted fast, keeping formation and composure even as explosions tore through the battlefield. Their training and coordination turned confusion into control, giving them a clear advantage in every engagement. Meanwhile, the devastation continued. Footage showed Buk M2 and Buk M3 air defense systems being blown apart as they tried to set up against Ukrainian positions. Drones descended with terrifying accuracy, hitting every exposed launcher and vehicle. The sky filled with fireballs and pillars of black smoke. Each strike left behind a scorched wreck. Proof that even Russia's high-tech missile systems were helpless once detected. Ukraine's combination of planning, precision, and drone dominance ensured that any target, no matter how powerful, could be neutralized in seconds. As the attacks unfolded, the pattern was unmistakable. Every Russian convoy was tracked. Every attempt to maneuver ended in flames, and every counterattack died before it began. If you want to keep up with the frontline reality and understand how Ukraine continues to dismantle one of the world's largest armies through innovation and courage, stay tuned, watch closely, and remember, in this war, the sky belongs to Ukraine.